Coates a little bit, as they were a very big Russian trio. So with six laps to go as they come around underneath us this time. There's that shot put. Dennis Coates still on the shoulder of number 2, Velichenko. 8:27.4 last season, and about the same time he was the winner against Great Britain last August at Crystal Palace, so they'll know his form. Alexander Velichko, number 2, goes into the barrier first. Dennis Coates still tucked in there, and the gap has been closed by Tony Stainings and by John Bycourt. John Bycourt there in the middle of the picture, wearing number 3. British teacher who gave up a term and gave up his salary to go to Mexico City to train at altitude to fight for a place in the British team for Montreal. And it's Coates, second in the 3A's championships in 75, a tough man, a cross-country man, the Northern cross-country champion. Good East Germans. 8:32.8, and this is another event in which Great Britain's establishing a pretty good tradition. Still very much together. 2 barriers to go in this lap, and then they'll see they've got 4 laps to go. Four laps to go as they cross this barrier. Grigas has taken the lead for the Soviets, so the women having a tough time. Now the 2 British boys trying to get away. John Bycourt has gone into the lead from Dennis Coates, and the first of the Russians is Jonas Grigas, their new international, tall man, high elbow action. John Bycourt, 4th in the Commonwealth Games in Christchurch, New Zealand, knows he hasn't got a sprint finish, likes to put a bit of economy into his running, pace himself around the 7.5 laps of this steeplechase course. They're running at about 8:30 pace. And unless the Russians can get around 8:20, they'll not send their athletes to Montreal. A couple of events in which they feel that they're weak. This is one of them. The 400 meters is clearly the other one. John Bycourt leads, and on his shoulder we've got Dennis Coates from Gateshead. 2 British vests in front. Tony Staining still very much in contention too. There's not 8 yards between first and last. And you can see there's quite a lot of breeze down that back straight. Three laps, that scoreboard. They're sometimes changing it early. Dennis Coates going into a lead, so he and John Bycourt may have something of an understanding. Grigas has dropped back. The first of the Russians now is Mikoyan, another new international. There he is on the outside of John Bycourt's shoulder. Tony Stainings just stealing into 5th place. 2 laps to go. Everybody bunched together. And if they keep this up, they'll all get pretty respectable times. The Olympic qualifying standard in this event, 8:32. And Tony Stainings has suddenly gone from the rear and has gone away. He looked really uncomfortable at the early part of this race, and suddenly has injected the sort of pace that could interrupt any sort of field. And it's done as much damage to the other 2 British boys as it has done to the Russians. The man chasing him, Mikoyan. So a lap and a half to 7.4 1/4. Tony Stainings going away now. Tony Stainings, only 22, 3A's champion. And the 3 Russians have responded best and gone with him. Number 2 goes into the lead, Velichenko. We haven't seen much of him. He's suddenly gone into a lead. Now, I'm saying that the 2 British boys suffered the worst from that burst, and they'll come up and hear the bell now. Dennis Coates ahead of John Bycourt, but they've got a lot of ground to make up. Tony Stainings is the only one in contention, and Velichko, Alexander Velichko, the winner against Great Britain last year, has gone into a lead now with Stainings on his shoulder. 7 minutes 27 at the bell, and he's come back at him again as Stainings puts his head down and goes, and that's one way to attack back when you have the lead taken away from you. If you can hit him again and make him suffer, and Velichko must wonder what Tony Stainings is all about. He's hurdling better than he's hurdled all through this race. In the early part of the race, he had staccato strides before he got to the barriers. Now he's hurdling better, but he's got to take this water jump. He's coming into it now, and he goes into it with real courage, and Velichko puts his head down and chases after him. But this is the last hurdle for Tony Stainings. Can he make it well? It's just between him and Velichko. He moves out to let Velichko come in, and he's taken it well. Velichko's head went back, and Tony Stainings is going to get a notable win. Stainings goes away 5 yards clear of the rush, and Dennis Coates is having a battle for 4th place, and is going to get there in 4th. But what a good run by young Tony Stainings. There he is, looking delighted, and his time unofficially 8:30.6. John Bycoat looking pretty dejected at the back. There's the number 6, Grigas, going ahead to congratulate him. And there is Dennis Coates, who really did have a hard run at the line and managed to get 4th place.